And so sadly, in this day and hour, we got a bunch of men whose wives are 10 times more spiritual than the men are.
Wait, hold on a second. Was that before or after they were in the streets with Chad and Pookie? Was that before or after she was out there cheating? Because most of the time women cheat more than men. Statistics bear this out. Don't come at me. Come at the people who actually make these statistics. Was this before or after? When he got home, she got mad at him for not doing the dishes, not taking care of the kids, not walking the dog. Was that before or after all those things, sir? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sheared podcast. I'm your host, Austin Creed, and my friends. Today we're going to discuss how pastors are failing young men. Now, obviously, I don't mean every single pastor in every single church, but I am noticing an unfortunate shift in the pastors, and unfortunately a lot of the younger pastors. So we're going to break down where kind of each group is prone to fail young men. But it's an undeniable fact that since World War II, younger men have left the church and usually not come back. And the only time they do is usually because they want a wife, and then they either get married or they quickly find out, wait a minute, this ain't working. I thought it'd be better over here, but it's not really better. It's just a different brand of the same thing that I've encountered in the secular world or in the streets or wherever. And that is one of the most important aspects that I highlight on this show, with the idea of the show being about exposing the reasons how you're getting exploited in society. And unfortunately, one of the biggest places is the church. And I don't mean that like the teachings are inherently bad. I mean the pastors, the elders, the leadership, they're not giving you solutions that are going to help you actually live your life. A lot of times they give you good ideas, but then they don't give you a way to actually live out what they're teaching you, and that's just one way. Then we go on to the affirming churches that seem to be popping up under every crevice in every town in every city in America, and then we compound that with the fact that a lot of pastors shift the blame to man, and then the wife blames the serpent, or just like Eve did in the Garden of Eden. And unfortunately, we have that happening a lot in the society. So what we're going to do is, you don't have to take my word for it. What we're going to do is we're going to watch some videos. And I actually did bring some comedy on the show today. Because you know what? The last couple of shows have been very dark, brooding, and everything. And we need some levity, right? I mean, you know, what is life if we can't laugh at a couple things, right? So we're definitely going to be doing that. But first, you want an example of why I would say that a lot of pastors are failing men? Look no further than this video. I've not seen it all the way through. All I know is it started off, and I was very unhappy with how it started, and you'll see why in a second. Before we play the video, I encourage everybody to share their thoughts, their comments, whether it's before or after we break these videos down, because your story, I don't care if you've never gone to church or if you've been in church your whole life, everybody has a story. And number one, I love to read the stories, and number two, a lot of men, especially men who are thinking about getting married, are married, or been divorced, they think they're alone. They think that no one's going to understand or sympathize with them, because when they encounter difficulties, a lot of times they'll side with the woman. They won't side with you. They'll tell you to suck it up. They'll tell you to deal with it. They won't give you the time of day. Over here on this channel, we give you the time of day, because this is about men sharing notes. And this is about us coming together and understanding, wait a minute, a lot of our stories line up. A lot of us are being told the same thing. So it can't be a coincidence, and instead it must be a calculated playbook that's being used by other people. And not in a diabolical way per se, but you find the feminist programming, the gynocentrism in a lot of the progressive women who pretend like they are not progressive but conservative. Without further ado, we're going to get into why a lot of pastors are exactly the problem with shifting the blame and blaming men for everything, just like the women do. Let's get into it. Here we go.
Hey, Daddy, if you don't get a hold of the Bible, and the Bible gets inside of you, it ain't my job to teach your kids about Jesus. It's your job to teach your kids about Jesus. It ain't my job to fight the spiritual warfare in your home. It's your job to fight the spiritual warfare in your home. And so sadly, in this day and hour, we got a bunch of men whose wives are 10 times more spiritual than the men are. And somehow we wonder why our home's been defeated when God chose the husband to be the high priest of the home. And you've been a little sissy and you playing on your PlayStation and looking at TV all night long. And your kids are going crazy. Your money went funny. Your marriage is going down the tube. And you ain't got enough sense to get on your knees, get in that Bible, and find out what God sent for your marriage. It's time for the men to be men and take the spiritual authority and pray the warfare off of your home, off of your family. If you don't pray for your kids, who's going to pray for your kids? If you don't fast for your babies, who's going to fast for your babies? Hogwash on coming here and let me tell you what God said. You got a Bible, get your nose in the Bible and start fighting the warfare like a good soldier of Christ.
Oh my, where do I begin? Oh, in other words, it's your fault. You went to work, you went to the gym, you did all these things, you paid the rent, you did all these things, but apparently it's still your fault. You can't win. You can't win. You're not doing enough over here. You're not putting enough work. You don't spend enough time with your kids. You don't do this, you don't do that. It's always your fault as a man. That's the moral of the story. You know what? Let's break this down, because this is the kind of crap that gets me so infuriated. Because again, he's shifting the blame to the men as if, oh, it's always the men's fault. You know, women don't have anything to hold accountable for, and the men, it's always your fault. Now, there are some things he said that I agree with. Absolutely. Does that mean then it's 100% his fault? I'm sorry, who's supposed to go to work? Who's supposed to pay for things? Who's supposed to mow the lawn? Who's supposed to care for the pool? Who's supposed to do all these things? Somebody else? Again, there was nothing said about, hey, wives, make sure you're helping your husband, you know, like what you were created to do according to the biblical account. But none of that was there. Let's see what else. Let's go break down exactly what he said.
Hey, Daddy, if you don't get a hold of the Bible and the Bible gets inside of you, it ain't my job to teach your kids about Jesus. It's your job to teach your kids about Jesus. It ain't my job to fight the spiritual warfare in your home. It's your job to fight the spiritual warfare in your home.
Look at that old woman in the front row. Look at her. She's like, oh, yeah, praise the Lord. Yeah, you get those gut men. Yeah, you get those men. Those no good dudes. Get them in their place. Look at that woman, man. Look at that. Oh, man. This ain't good.
Your home. And so sadly, in this day and hour, we got a bunch of men whose wives are 10 times more spiritual than the men are.
Wait, hold on a second. Was that before or after they were in the streets with Chad and Pookie? Was that before or after she was out there cheating? Because most of the time women cheat more than men. Statistics bear this out. Don't come at me. Come at the people who actually make these statistics. Was this before or after? When he got home, she got mad at him for not doing the dishes, not taking care of the kids, not walking the dog. Was that before or after all those things, sir? Could you kindly explain to me where he's supposed to find time to do all these things? Again, he's not wrong with the fact that he's supposed to teach his kids about these things. This is a fact. This is true. However, here's what he's omitting. You're making it sound like all you're doing is sitting at home watching the football game, the soccer game, the basketball game, baseball game, drinking beer, not doing jack all day, which is just completely untrue. Completely untrue, but of course he frames it as if you ain't doing jack-ish, and the wife's over there busting her behind doing everything, and you can't be bothered to do anything or contribute a dang thing, which is a complete lie. Complete lie. And then he wants to pretend like, oh, your wife more spiritual than you. Where? Please tell me where. I'd love to hear. What is he talking about? Give me an example, because if your example is correct, I might agree with him. But he's not giving an example. He's just trying to make the men look bad.
And somehow we wonder why our home's been defeated when God chose the husband to be the high priest of the home. And you've been a little sissy and you playing on your PlayStation and looking at TV all night long. And your kids are going crazy. Your money went funny. Your marriage is going down the tube. And you ain't got enough sense to get on your knees, get in that Bible, and find out what God sent for your marriage.
Oh, in other words, men, don't come home and, do things you enjoy doing. No, you gotta do another job, which is you gotta take care of your wife. You gotta take care of your kids. You gotta take care of your dog. You gotta do all these things. Again, so I can't come home and play on my PS5. I can't come home and play on my Steam account. I can't come home and watch the football game that I recorded. I can't do any of those things because apparently now I'm supposed to do there's a bunch of other stuff too. Okay, great. Oh, and I'm sorry, where was the help supposed to be out here? So in other words, As a leader, I'm supposed to do everything. I can't delegate anything. I can't do anything I actually like. I gotta do everything for everybody else. Meanwhile, they're ungrateful. That's the conclusion he came to. Wow, what great advice. See, gentlemen, this is what I'm talking about. He is blaming the man for everything. Is there a certain part of what he said that is true? Yes. Are there some men who actually don't do enough? Yes, but they are not the norm. They are the exception. Most men work super hard and get very little, if anything, not even a thank you in response. I do my best to thank my father for all the things he does for me. When I was younger, did I appreciate them? I didn't know any different. Now I do. See, here's the problem. We act like men are our utility that just keeps getting tapped, and if you're not doing everything, you're not pitching a shutout, then you're not doing enough. Then you're failing as a man. You're failing as a husband. You're failing as a leader of the household. This is an untrue, disgusting lie. It's disgraceful. Where's the talk about, hey, wives, what are you doing to help your husband do all these things? Nothing. It's nowhere to be found. How about teach your kids to have a good work ethic so they can help with that? No, nowhere to be found. See, this is the problem, gentlemen. This is the kind of stuff that men hear in the church. Women get up and they're like, oh yeah, praise Jesus. This is great advice. And if you think he's alone, he's not alone. Here's some more advice. What does this have to say?
I can tell any married man that is struggling, that will change your life. If you're a married man, you're struggling, 7 things I can tell you. I don't have time for that today. But one of which is about treating your wife well. To turn your life around like this. Instantly. What? Instantly, if you treat your wife well. I'm not talking about doing show. I mean for real. Even when nobody's watching. Even when she won't know. Because you know you can cheat on your wife and she won't know. But the blesser knows. Say your prayers will be hindered. So treat her well is one of them. Second one, listen to her. Most men that make serious mistakes don't listen to the advice. See, the whole purpose of marrying that woman is defeated if you don't listen to her. Say two are better than one. So you are wasting the whole concept of marriage if you marry someone you're not going to listen to. So one of the best decisions of my life came from my wife. And in fact, it still pains me that I didn't listen fast enough because I learned this thing slowly. It pains me I didn't listen. Men don't use ear to hear. This ear is more designed.
Oh, men don't hear anything. Oh, is that what you're trying to... Oh, my... Gentlemen, so here, this guy is another... I don't know if he's a comedian or a reverend. I think he says he's a pastor. Gentlemen, what kind of advice is this? Oh, just listen to your wife. Just do everything she says, and your life will be great. A lot of men are doing that right now, and they're miserable. Just so you know. A lot of men do that and still get divorced. A lot of men do that and end up in sexless marriages. And yet, for some reason, this is the solution. Gentlemen, when you're in a marriage, you lose all leverage. I'm not telling you that you can't be married. Do I encourage it? No. Because at the end of the day, as a man, you lose all leverage. You can't... If you want to stop, for example... You can't just stop paying the bills. Can't just stop mowing the lawn. Can't stop making the money and doing all these things because the minute you do, she's going to divorce you and she's going to leave. You can't stop going to the fair, the farmer's market, the festival, the family gatherings. You can't stop doing all of those things because immediately she's going to cut you off. And then you're going to be left with half of your stuff that you've worked for. And she doesn't have to give you sex, by the way. No. She's entitled to your money, but you're not entitled to anything else, apparently. See, this is the problem. Men who have their schmendrick on the shelf are some of the unhappiest dudes in the world. But unfortunately, a lot of married men fit in that category. Now, is every married man going to be in that category? No. But are a lot of them in there right now and they don't talk about it, which is why we look at the OnlyFools. Shout out to Joker from Meta Bachelor. OnlyFools and all of their spicy content is mainly being subscribed to by married guys. Yes, it actually explains it a lot. Because you would be inclined to think, oh, it's those single dudes who can't get any women. It's the guys who are broke and unhappy. No. You think broke guys can afford that? No. You think they'd rather do that as opposed to up their Instagram or even run game, God forbid, or anything else? Absolutely not. But gentlemen, when we have this kind of advice, rating as being a good guy, good men don't get rewarded. Not really. Maybe a little bit at first, but not for very long. And this is the problem. This is why a lot of pastors are giving men this advice, and this advice leads to this kind of humor being extremely funny. We're going to go to something that maybe some of you can relate to. I have never been married. I'll give you that disclaimer right now. I have never been married. I don't plan on ever being married. However, married men, divorced men, men who are thinking about getting married right now, let me know how you relate to this.
Advice to men. Advice to men. Men, pay attention. Whenever you feel overloaded with your wife's issues, rather than engaging in domestic violence, please go to the nearest biological anxiety relief bar and order any of the following antidotes: wife irritation neutralizing extract, wine; refreshing unique medicine, rum; bothersome exchange wife elimination recruiter, beer; Wi-Fi infusion suspicion killing energy, yeast, whiskey. Make yourself happy. There's more to life than domestic violence at home.
Oh, listen to that woman laughing in the background. You know why women find this funny? Because they know that they're doing this, and they drive a lot of men to drink. Now, I'm not absolving the man of the personal responsibility. Here's what I am saying. Gentlemen, a lot of men who end up in a situation like this, they do it. This has a comedic effect because a lot of men can relate to this. And a lot of women, they think it's funny. They're like, oh, that's so funny. For a lot of men, this is a very tragic reality. A lot of men, they don't want to go home. Because when they go home, they feel like they're going home to a second boss, to someone nagging them, to someone who's not appreciative of the work he just did. See, that's the problem. A lot of men understand this reality. Either they hear about it online, they see it for themselves, they experience it for themselves, and a lot of times the pastors in the church, who are supposed to be paragons of the truth and of superior virtue and everything else, they blame the man the same way society blames the man, social media blames the man, the women blame the man, and then they're supposed to just flock to these men because, oh, they're so holy, and they teach the word, and they sew the scriptures together, and they make it into a beautiful quilt that you can wear on your back for the rest of your life. Gentlemen, a lot of men aren't doing this because of the fact that it sounds no different than the things they hear on social media, the things they hear at their job, the things they hear from their wife, or their spouse, or their relationship. They hear these things enough already. Why in the world would they sign up for another thing to exploit them, use them, not appreciate them, and turn them out? Why would they do that? Oh, and call them the problem if they don't pitch a shutout. Why would they do it? The answer is a lot of men are choosing not to do it. Now, is there a way to fix this? Absolutely there is. But unfortunately, that would mean you might have to tick off the women a little bit by reeling back on the feminism, reeling back on the fact that, wait a minute, we're preaching a lot of things that are anti-men and pro-women. We got to bring it back a little more to actual tradition. You know, like no rainbow flags in the church. Women are technically, by the scripture, not supposed to be and have leadership roles in the church. You can debate me on that if you want. But according to a lot of things I've read, and there's good arguments on both sides, but traditionally, it's not been normal. How about we go back to marriage? The church ran marriage back in the day, not the state. We would have to change that. So there's no child support, no alimony. There's no incentive for the woman to rip the contract up and walk away with your stuff and your kids. All of these things can be a solution. The problem is we're probably not going to see it because at the end of the day, the biggest voting bloc in the West is women. Ever since World War II, Vietnam, Korea, the men have been lower than the women population. And so they're the biggest demographic, and they tend to be more hive-minded, whereas men tend to be more individualistic and competitive. So women are going to vote more on women's issues, which is why since the 1960s and forward, we've seen more and more progressive ideology instead of prudent traditionalism. But of course, this is just one man's opinion, one that's based on a lot of evidence, common sense, and reason. My friends, please share your thoughts and comments below. I know that I try to inject a little bit of comedy into the show because this is a very tragic topic for a lot of people. It hits a lot of close to home, hits them between the eyeballs, and I want there to be a little levity. But you guys, let me put it up on the screen one more time. Let's see, where
domestic violence.
Hold on. Where's the actual? Let me know if you can relate to any of these acronyms the guy came up with. Biological anxiety relief for bar, wife irritation neutralizing extract or wine, refreshing unique medicine rum, bothersome estranged wife elimination booster beer or rebooter. Why pine fusion suspicion? Healing energy, yeast, whiskey. I mean, that's kind of funny. Try to inject a little bit of comedy into the show because at the end of the day, a lot of this is tragic. Makes you unhappy, hits a little close to home. But gentlemen, please share your stories, your comments, your thoughts, your opinions. Even if you don't agree with me, that's totally fine. I would love to hear about it. My friends, take care of yourselves. Think with what's up here, not what's down there. It'll help save your life. But until next time, my friends, you take care of yourselves, and I'm out of here. Take care of yourselves. Peace.